So I went to Amyl and the Sniffers gig last night at the famous Glasgow Barrowlands. And if you don't know who Amyl and the Sniffers are, they are a female fronted. Actually, I'm going to check myself there. Right there, straight away. I'm going to check myself. Because I've been using the phrase female fronted, or I'll say a female MC and stuff like that. And I've noticed, people that I massively respect, like Mrs. Magoo, Cat from Slamboree, say, they don't like the phrase female MC or female DJ. And I totally understand why not. There's a lot of connotations. It's like, if you're a good MC, you're a good MC. There shouldn't be no reason to mention female MC or female DJ. But the way I've always looked at it previously was, I know for a fact that, my partner, she likes to support female acts. So she's probably more interested if it's a female DJ. She's a DJ herself. A female DJ, if you would. And she's more likely to go and see a female DJ or a female MC or a female fronted band because she wants to support women in the music. And so I've always kind of said female sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes I say it because I think that some people would like to support that more. Females would like to support other females in music. There's a lot of... So, but I have listened to Mrs. Magoo and Slamboree and just said, yeah, maybe I shouldn't mention that. But here I am mentioning it because it was actually a thing online. It was like, how would you describe Amyl and the Sniffers sound? And I thought, well, how would I describe it? So I googled it and it said a female-fronted Australian pub rock band or punk rock band. Pub rock and punk rock, it comes up both of those. And it is punk. It is punk. There will be like old school punks who'll say that's not punk because some old punks think everybody should have green hair and have a particular sound. But to me it's punk. The ethos of punk for me is just doing what the fuck you want and having a high energy. And that's exactly what Amyl and the Sniffers brought. They brought a high energy to proceedings. The bars was bouncing from start to finish. You're talking, I think Amy Taylor, the lead singer, is a proper rock star. There's not many rock stars about just now. They're a dying breed. I don't know what I mean by rock star. I don't know exactly what I mean. But it's just being unique, being energetic, being themselves, I suppose. But you don't really get it that much with bands. There's a lot of indie bands who are just boring bastards. Or they're imitating someone. A lot of copycats are trying to imitate their favourite singer. And I just don't really... I don't think that it has been anyone like Amy Taylor as a front person before. It's unique. It is... vocally... And I love the vocals on it. Kind of jumping between punk rock and... There's a wee bit of an element of hip-hop in there as well because I see it like that because it's fast poetry and hip-hop is a thing. It's the same thing to me. I think with good hip-hop is poetry and I think good poetry is hip-hop. And there's an element of it where I can hear the words weaving together in a very measured and rhythmic style. So it's not a hip hop, of course not. But I love the fact that she's got her own accent, which is rare. Everyone sings in a BBC voice or a, I don't know, like an American radio voice. It's not even a real voice, and I want to hear how people sound. So I'm not saying like I've got friends who maybe have like they've moved around and they don't really have so much of a regional accent, and that's fine. That's fine. I'm not saying that you have to have a regional accent or anything like that. I'm just saying that you should be yourself. Some people don't have a regional accent, so don't put it on. That'd be stupid to pretend you've got a regional accent. I'm not saying that. I'm saying be yourself. And I love hearing the Australian accent. There's not many bands. I'm not an expert in Australian music by any means. I like a few Australian hip hop acts, but that's the only other time I've heard the Australian accent really in music. And I think it works so well with amazing guitars, bass, drums. It's just pretty much straightforward rock and roll for the most part. But Amy's presence, stage presence is next level. And the place was bouncing. Also, she did drink Buckfast on stage, which is a wee... If there's anyone listening here that's not from Glasgow or not from Scotland, and you want to get a Glasgow crowd or a Scottish crowd on your side, is drink the Buckfast. Drink the Bucky. I remember going to the Glasgow Green, and it was Red Hot Chili Peppers were headlining. It was a great gig actually. It was Foo Fighters, Electric Six, PJ Harvey, the Distillers. It was crazy lineup. And I was there actually for the Chili Peppers. I was just a wee guy. I was very young, and it was when Californication had came out. So I was there to see the Chili Peppers because like Scar Tissue was all over the place. You couldn't get away from it. This is back before proper internet, so it was just like when a song was a hit, it was all over the radio, it was all over the TV. You couldn't get away from it. And so I went for the Chili Peppers. Queens of the Stone Age played as well. That was the first time I ever heard them, and it was a great gig. Everything was banging, and the Chili Peppers just didn't really win the crowd over. I mean, they were all right, but they just came on after so much good stuff. PJ Harvey, the Distillers, Queens of the Stone Age, Electric Six, who had, maybe you won't know who that is, but the Danger High Voltage song that everyone thought Jack White did, but he didn't. I don't think. So it was just a pure buzz. And then Foo Fighters came on, and now I've seen the Foo Fighters about 25 times accidentally. I've never bought a ticket to see them, but they play a festival, and I'll always stop for a song or two and end up staying for the full thing because they've just got classic after classic, and you don't think you know Foo Fighters. I don't listen to them in the house or anything, but when you watch them live, they've got hit after hit. You know all the songs. And Dave Grohl, he just he makes you feel like he understands Glasgow. And I can't speak for other cities. Maybe he's got patter in different cities, but his Glasgow patter is stuff like the Barras. I think he's got an emotional connection to the Barras, which is where the gig was last night. Because the first Foo Fighters gig was at the Barras, and they hadn't. He'd played there for the first time. It was the first ever European gig after Nirvana. His first gig as Foo Fighters post Nirvana. And I think he had a really special connection with the Barras crowd. I think he was very nervous about, so the story goes, he was very nervous about playing Europe. Would they like it? And the reaction was incredible he got. And he's got, I think there is genuinely a place in his heart in the Barrowlands. Barrowlands meant a lot to him. So he knew about the Barras, he knew about Bucky. So when I seen him at Glasgow Green, he was talking about the Barras, he was talking about Bucky. And the crowd loved it. And yeah, it was. I think. Give you an example. Red Hot about Chili Peppers. They come on stage and they said, "How many people had haggis for breakfast?" And annoyingly, I had haggis for breakfast. I got a haggis supper from a wee chippy. I think it was Best Kebab, or it was next door to Best Kebab. It was next to Queen Street anyway. So I got a haggis supper. But I still felt offended, even though I had haggis, because he put on a stupid accent. Like, how many of you had haggis for breakfast? It didn't go down well. The crowd hated it. It's like when Eminem said, "Hello, Glasgow, would you like a cup of tea?" Because he was obviously on drugs and he thought that he was in England. He didn't understand what Britain was. He was probably, to be fair to Eminem, He's probably on date 100 of his tour at the time. But he said, hello Glasgow, how many was in a cup of tea? And I think also at the park he went to hello Edinburgh as well. So he's not very good at knowing. I mean, he's in a bubble, isn't he? He's just flying a bit, probably private jets and stuff. But Dave Grohl understood the crowd, and Amyl the Sniffers, not just them, but Coffin. I think they're called Coffin, the support act. C-O-F-F.I.N. That's what they're called. I'm assuming they're called Coffin. I'm going to call them Coffin anyway, because I'm not spelling that out again. I'm assuming they're called Coffin, and there's about 2,000 other death metal bands that are called Coffin, so they've had to put full stops after every letter so that they can be found in Google, which is a good idea. You know, if you're going to start a band name, make sure it's Googleable, and that's what it is. So they were good as well. They had their drummer had a Scotland top on, and he was talking about how they went to the Barras Market. I think they all went for breakfast. I think shout out to the Ginger Quiff as well. I think the Ginger Quiff, who is a great blogger, Scottish music fan, who writes lots of good stuff. The Ginger Quiff bumped into them, I think in Merchant City or something. They were just, I think Amyl and the Sniffers and Coffin were just having breakfast and stuff. But I think they had breakfast in Glasgow, and they've obviously went to the Barras. Someone's obviously sold them Scotland tops, and that was good. I like that. You know, it's I know it's quite easy. You know, some people say, "Oh, wear a Scotland top at Scotland," but it works. The Glasgow crowd appreciates a Scotland top. They appreciate people drinking Bucky, and that added to the night. I think they also knew about the "Here we fucking go" chant, which I know that annoys a lot of people. But here we fucking go. They asked for the chant, and the crowd provided. And this is just a weird thing in Scotland. Like, it doesn't happen anywhere else in the world. And I've seen so many bands just looking bewildered and confused when the "Here we fucking go" chant starts. They're like, what are they saying? Some people think, I can't remember who it was, but thought people were singing Billy fucking Idol. Nobody really knows why it started or what it is. Some people like to say, oh, it's an Eddie chant. You know, it's for the right gig, it's brilliant. I don't care what you say. I think it's good. But anyway, I had it all. I had Scotland tops. Shouts to Coffin as well. They were great. It's always tough being a support act, and I think they did a good job. And then when the Sniffers came on and absolutely blew the place after it. There should be some videos playing, you'll see it looping. Crowd loved it. Place was brilliant. Great night. Also, I was, after the gig, went to McCool's for a pint after. I ruined Sober October because Amyl and the Sniffers were actually supposed to play on November the 15th, I think it was. And they changed it because they were wanting to go to an awards ceremony in Australia. I think they're up for 6 nominations. I'm assuming it's like the Australian equivalent of the Brits. And it pissed off a lot of people. I know a few people had tickets for the 15th, and they're not very happy. And some people had booked hotels and stuff. They weren't very happy that they changed the date. It's the first time I've ever been to a postponed gig in the past. You know, postponing a gig to the past. It's like unusual. But at first I was a wee bit like, that's a bit shite of them doing that. Also ruined my Sober October because I'd planned a big day out. You know, so I ruined my Sober October. So I wasn't very happy with it initially. But then I was like, it's the rock stars. These are actual rock and roll band. And why? They're probably touring for the last year non-stop. They're busy. They're always out and about doing stuff. So why can't they just go to their awards ceremony in Australia and hang about and get wasted with their pals and just have a good night and win awards? I mean, if they're up for 6, they're going to win at least a few, aren't they? So why not just let them have that? They deserve it. They're at the peak of their game. They're at the top of their game. They're in their prime. Why not just go win the awards, have a good night, and something that you'll remember for the rest of your life. So good. I say, who cares? Just good on them. Just do what you want. It's annoying if you've obviously booked a hotel and stuff, but you know they're just thinking about themselves because that's what you do, innit? It's like this is for us, and they've made that decision, and they've done it, and as you can hear, they ruined Sober October for me. But I had a very, very good time. I enjoyed it. And that's my review of Amyl and the Sniffers. I think they're still on tour. Google their name, check them out. But a proper good rocking band with a pure spirit of punk behind it. A nice regional accent. Loved it. Got to give it an 8 out of 10, but I think I'll give it a 9 out of 10 because they finish with Yes Sir, I Can Boogie, and it's just playing to the Scottish crowd, and it just shows. I mean, you might think this is Cheap Trick's drinking Buckfast, doing Here We Fucking Go, and Yes Sir, I Can Boogie. You might think that's just easy tricks, but it just shows that they're actually paying attention to where they are in the world. And, you know, I think a lot of touring bands miss that point or get Glasgow confused with England, which is a no-no. Anyway, it's your Call Out Radio TV. Please hit the subscribe button and let me know, did you go to the gig? Did you enjoy it? Did you enjoy Amyl and the Sniffers? Do you think it's okay to use the word female-fronted band or female MC or female DJ? I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. I'm totally up for hearing you out. And up next for us is the Club Anywhen gig night at the Room 2 for Kendrick Lamar after party. So please come along to that if you can. If you're a patron, you can sign up at patreon.com/YouCallThatRadio, or you can become a member on YouTube. If you do that, you will get a free guest list to the gig on Wednesday night. We've got Captain Barrett, who's an absolute legend. He's been the head of music for Boomtown Festival, which is the best festival we've ever played. It's amazing. So he's coming for the Kendrick Lamar gig, and he's going to play some tunes after it. We've got Capital 1212 from Edinburgh, absolute legends, and the Gaffer, Murphamish, is playing as well. We've got live visuals from Pixie Pixels, and the first hour from 10 to 11 will be Atlas Works and a whole bunch of amazing special guests. So from 10 till 3. And you can get your tickets on Skiddle at a tenner on the door, or a $5 on Skiddle if you buy in advance. Or if you're a patron, then we're going to give you a free ticket as a thank you for helping us on this journey and making this channel a thing. So as a thank you, come for free and be part of the first ever live audience for the first ever Club Anywhen gig in the real world. Although it won't look like it's the real world because we've got amazing visuals. So it's going to look an unreal world. But yeah, shout outs to Amyl and the Sniffers, great gig, and watch some other videos on this channel, hit the subscribe button, and support the Patreon if you want. Bye!